Pachyderms needed to go to the bench. But that's all right. I'm a little hoarse. I've done 10 interviews this week on television and radio so far. My latest one was this morning at 8 o'clock. And we have a rule in our house, no calls, nothing before 9 o'clock. And that's put out by the boss in the house, which is my wife. And so I violated that rule by accepting an 8 o'clock radio interview this morning with Larry Klayman from Judicial Watch. So anyhow, hopefully my voice will get us through this afternoon. But wonderful group you have. Very familiar with it. I think I've spoken before in years past. And the Stand Up America, I don't know how many members do we have here of the Stand Up America U.S. Foundation? We need all of you to join it. We're the only major national organization out of Montana which has a reach across the United States and into Europe and into the Middle East and the Far East. So we reach out very far. So I would encourage you to see Ray DiLorenzo, sign up for our newsletter, which comes out every Saturday morning. Ray actually posts it at 4 a.m.
3 a.m.
Oh, 3 a.m. Excuse me. And that newsletter is read by probably every major person you see on television. That's how effective our newsletter is. So sign up for the newsletter, and if you can donate, that'd be great. We've been around since 2005. In 2015, all of a sudden pops up Stand Up America. I said, where'd that come from? George Soros funded an organization called Stand Up America in 2015 to counter what I was doing. So we must be doing something right over the years, that's for sure. You know, the ability to get on national media today is great for us because we do have a voice. And that voice has to really be spread loud and clear. We have far too many lemmings and sheep in this country that aren't educated, don't understand, even members of my own family. I'm sure we also, in our families, have this controversy between conservatives and liberals and so on, and it's a real battle today. It's a shame. I'm not allowed to talk politics with my daughter, for example, or my son-in-law. So, you know, it just creates a lot of uncomfortable situations at dinner or during Christmas and that when we can't openly discuss what's happening in America. I think I'll focus today on the news of the day, and that's Afghanistan and General Milley. And I'll be happy to divert and go into any direction you'd like if you'd like me to discuss anything else. Now, I don't know everything, okay? But I'm pretty well plugged in to what's going on. I can tell you that. And it's nice to have a knowledge of being able to write. We started a new radio show every Monday from 12 to 2 Eastern Time. It's called the Stand Up America U.S. Radio Show. My guests so far have been Colonel Larry Sullivan, who's one of the greatest and most knowledgeable intelligence officers. You can Google Larry and all of his writings and intelligence, particularly when it came out of Afghanistan and Pakistan. On Monday, I have Colonel Allen West, who's running for governor in Texas, as well as Ted and Shemaine Nugent. And I'll tell you, you gotta listen to that 30 minutes. We pre-recorded it yesterday, and it was a kick in the you-know-what. And that's Ted, but you'll love it, and his beautiful wife, Shemaine. Well, let me just make some remarks, and I'd really like to open it up to questions and answers. How much time do we have, Lynn? Oh, 1 o'clock, no, that'll be fine. Let's see, that's 20 after 12 now. But I want to introduce what our climate energies are for Stand Up America. And that's Ed Berry sitting right here. If you don't know Ed. His book is on our website, which is standupamericaus.org. The other books we have listed there are quite well worth it to read, especially what Ed's done on climate change. You're just marvelous in your in-depth knowledge and countering all of these climate change warriors out there. That's what they like to claim themselves. But well, anyhow, let's talk about Afghanistan. In October, November 2001, I covered Afghanistan on Fox News, and I was doing a lot of, probably 3 or 4 shows a day. Tony Snow, if you remember him, he and I did a lot of shows together on Afghanistan. But October, November, with 100 Special Forces, CIA paramilitary, B-52s, we kicked the hell out of the Taliban. 8,000 to 10,000 we killed. Ran them across the border into the Northwest Territories of Pakistan. Okay? Now, I said in January 2002, you got to be aware of what we call in the military mission creep. And I'll be darned, that's what they started doing, putting different units in, establishing bases in Afghanistan, trying to push democracy into the tribal lands, a culture that wouldn't accept democracy, and nation building. That was in 2002. And I've been very vocal ever since that about what should have been done. We had a Major General named General Dostum. He was the head of the Northern Alliance, based out of Mazar-e-Sharif. At that time, we should have turned over Afghanistan to General Dostum because he was respected. So what does Bush bring in? A lightweight named Karzai. And that started that whole buildup of nation building to the tune of, after 20 years, $2.3 trillion of our money in Afghanistan. And what do we have to pay for it? So we had what happened in the last 30 days. We basically surrendered to the Taliban and to the Chinese. And I'll talk more about the Chinese influence. Now, to me, those people in the Pentagon allowed that to happen. Should have been relieved of duty, but of course Biden won't do that. And then we have the Milley story just came out in the last week, so we'll talk about that. I could have had a sergeant in my Special Forces unit design a withdrawal plan out of Afghanistan. You could have. Was it intentional? It was intentional. It was by design. They had a group, national security people under Biden, that actually met in Doha in May with elements of the Taliban. They paid them money from our intelligence. They agreed to give up Bagram and to pull out by August 31st. That's why they stuck to that date. Now, how could anybody in our military agree to something like that and not stand up and say, Mr. President, we cannot do that? We've got to leave even some kind of a residue force, maybe 2,500, which one of the generals, General Miller, had recommended. Dereliction of duty, court-martial offenses. Let me just read something from Uniform Code of Military Justice. Article 103B, aiding the enemy. Under Article 103B, aiding the enemy, any person may be subject to prosecution if they aid or attempt to aid the enemy with arms, ammunition, supplies, money, or other things, without proper authority, knowingly harbor and protect or give intelligence to, or communicate or correspond with, or hold any intercourse, communication with the enemy, either directly or indirectly. This is the one I'm putting out over the different shows that I'm doing. Because if any of these generals or admirals, they need to be investigated, they should be tried under Article 103B, Uniform Code of Military Justice. Treason, as defined, is only in a time of war. Okay? So here's an interesting question. I've been sort of mulling this around in my own mind over the last week. We defined war in the Constitution, but it changed after World War II, didn't it? We started talking about Cold Wars, Cold War with Russia. There's no Cold War defined in the Constitution. So we started changing that over, and we never had a declared war since World War II. We had Korea, we had Vietnam, we had Iraq, we had Afghanistan. The war against terror, they used war, did they? War against terror.